Welcome into another edition of Loggers Live here from Loggers headquarters on the north side of La Crosse. My name is Chris Callaway, joined this morning by Loggers field manager Brian Lewis. And Brian, we've got two more players to announce to the Loggers roster for 2018. Players number 7 and 8. We're almost able to field a whole lineup as of right now. But two guys coming to us from Texas A&M University. Freshman pitcher Christian Roa and infielder Bryce Blaum coming from the Aggies organization. We've had a lot of success with Aggies over the past couple of years, and your tenure here at with the Loggers. Just started off when you know you got a couple of guys coming from College Station. You got some good talent coming in.
Yeah, it's always a great day when I get that message from Goodell telling me that he's got a phone call or a text message from Texas A&M, and they got guys they want to send. And virtually every guy they've sent since I've been around these parts has been a tremendous talent and a tremendous player. And they're all good kids. They work hard, and the thing about Texas A&M guys is they really enjoy the game and they have a lot of fun. They have some characters. They really like having fun, which keeps the teams loose, and I love having them around.
Well, let's start with that pitcher, Christian Roa. He's a big kid, 6'4", 200-pound righty. I mean, what are you kind of expecting from him this summer?
So Christian's got a high ceiling. Obviously young, he's going to be a true freshman, or he is a true freshman right now. But he works in that 90 to 92 range. He's got a pretty good changeup. I think what Texas A&M and as well as us here during the summer, we're going to work on trying to get a little bit more of a speed differential between that changeup and that fastball. Right now his changeup has good depth on it. It moves pretty well, but it sits in that 82, 83 range. We'd like to get a little bit more of a difference in that speed differential. He's still developing his breaking ball some. They expect him to be a frontline starter for them at some point in the next couple of years. So I think our plan would probably be to get him into that rotation as soon as possible and turn him loose and hopefully get a lot of innings pitched out of him.
What do you kind of think that their role, they're hoping that for Christian early on in his college career? And so if he comes in as a reliever, as a kind of a non-conference guy, I mean, how does that transition to what you guys are hoping to do with him over the summer?
Well, I'm assuming he's going to relieve when he does get time this year. I mean, at Texas A&M, they have a whole staff of power arms, quality pitchers, draft pick guys. So it's always tough for a freshman to break in there, especially into the rotation. So I would assume he's going to probably be in that 10 to 15 inning range, give or take, coming out of the bullpen for them. But I know that their plan and what they want is for him to build up innings so that he can move into the rotation at some point. That's why they're sending him here, so that he can get a lot of innings pitched, and which is huge for us because we are always looking for quality starters, and I think he's going to be one.
He had, in his senior year of high school, a 1.65 ERA, 62 strikeouts over 49 innings. I know you take high school statistics with a little bit of a grain of salt, but still, better than a strikeout per inning is pretty darn good when you're seeing a kid coming in like that.
Yeah, you do take him with a grain of salt, but you also got to remember he's pitching in the Houston area. Sure. And high school baseball in the Houston area is one of the more elite high school baseball communities in the country. So he also, he's proven against some high-level high school players that he can do the job. And I believe he was in the top 15 as far as pitchers in the state of Texas. It's one of the best states that you can come out of, and being a top 15 right-handed pitcher in that state speaks well for him, and we're just excited to get him in uniform and get him with Coach Kenny and get him rolling.
So that's Christian Roa, native of Houston, Texas, coming to the Loggers from Texas A&M University. And one of his teammates this year, Bryce Blaum, spent 1 year at Ole Miss, now transferring over into College Station to play for the Aggies. He's a utility infielder that's hoping to make an impact with the Aggies this upcoming season. But what are you hoping for out of Bryce in the summer of 2018?
Well, Bryce, last year as a true freshman, did get a little bit of playing time with Ole Miss. He's got to sit out this year due to transfer rules, which is big for us because he'll be here opening day. So what we expect out of him is quality defense. He's a smooth fielding infielder that can play any spot on the infield. I believe he was a shortstop in high school. He's pretty good at third base. I know he played some third base in the Texas A&M Fall World Series that they played. So right off the bat, wherever we need him, whether that's second base, shortstop, third base, he'll be in there. He needs to get a ton of at-bats, so he's ready to go for his redshirt junior year when he gets back down to College Station. That's what they want to see out of him, and that's what we want to see. So we expect him to play good defense. He's got some pretty good speed. We expect him to cause some havoc on the base paths and swing a good bat.
He's going to be there day one, which is huge. You can't put too big of a value on that. I mean, it's awesome to have guys for the entire season. But one of the things it also does with some of these other returners we got coming back, hopefully early on in the season, it really starts to put that infield pieces together. You can kind of see that your lineup for opening night already starting to kind of take shape.
Yeah, it's still early, and you don't know what can transpire between now and then, especially when you start talking injuries with some of these guys. But you're right, our infield is starting to really shape up with the guys we're getting under contract. And the thing about Blaum that makes him so huge, as I already touched on, is the fact that he can play all three spots at a high level. So, if we get a surprise team, in college that moves on to a regional that maybe we weren't anticipating, and say our third baseman's going to be late, our second baseman's going to be late, then in that case, Bryce can fill in and play wherever we need him. And I think we've all learned in our time in the Northwoods League that you can win or lose a division, especially the first half division there in those first 5 to 10 games, if you don't have a quality defense out there. And Bryce is going to be a huge pickup for us in the fact that he'll be here day one. And let's be honest, he's going to be a starting infielder in the SEC at some point, so he's a pretty good player.
So, obviously we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit here, but, both of those guys, if they're playing at Texas A&M, that means they're pretty good. I mean, how do these guys project? We always talk about that at the next level. I mean, how do these guys kind of project, whether it's, at the major league level or later in their college careers? I mean, what's kind of the trajectory for these guys?
I would say, starting with Christian, I think that by his junior year, he'll be a weekend starter with him. I think that's how he projects at Texas A&M, which, I think would probably get him, provided he progresses the way they think, into a top 15, maybe 20 round draft pick. And with his body and with his ceiling, by the time he gets out of there, though, he could be throwing upper 90s, which then bumps him up even more, kind of like a guy like Kaysen Cherry that we had in the past from there. With Bryce, it's a little different. He's going to have a year out. I think that projections for him might be a little early, but with his skill set and the way that he can be a utility type guy defensively, I think that you could see him progressing to possibly a super utility guy at the next level, maybe even a starting second baseman at some point in his minor league career. He's got a lot to live up to here in Loggerland with Ryan Burke in the past playing second base for us, but those guys are always up for the challenge.
Right, you mentioned Ryan Burke. I mean, a second baseman, maybe a little bit of a smaller guy from Texas A&M. You can easily make those comparisons there. And then a big guy, Christian Roa. Kaysen Cherry's a big, tall guy. Mark Ecker had a lot of oomph on his fastball as well. So some really good lineage coming out of College Station.
Absolutely. Mark Ecker, even though he dealt with a little bit of injuries when he was here and he wasn't quite healthy all the time like we would have seen, when he was healthy and was right, he was one of the more dominant pitchers we've had in my 5 years here, without a doubt, in a high-round draft pick. Kaysen was the same way, which everybody got to see, over at Copeland Park. He lived 94 to 96, did a great job. So I think that Christian will get to that point. I don't necessarily think we'll see it this summer, the velocity like that, but he'll get there. The thing with Bryce Blaum is that it's almost like it's untapped. To go to Ole Miss and get a little bit of playing time as a true freshman is a feat in itself. So I'm really excited to actually see him on the field, see what the skill set that he brings. Everybody that I've talked to says he's very athletic and can do a lot of things, not just defensively, but with the bat and running the bases. So I'm excited to see him. And going back to Ryan Burke real quick, just so you know, Ryan Burke, toughest player I've ever coached.
Oh, yeah?
Bar none, toughest player I've ever coached. No offense to all the other guys I've coached. Toughest player I've ever coached.
So some lofty expectations for Bryce Blaum coming in with those nice words for Ryan Burke. So they joined the likes of Cameron Blake, Jorge Gutierrez, who were in from College Station last year, Ronnie Gideon, who played a couple of years here in La Crosse and doing some good things in the Brewers minor league system as well, a big bat. So very happy to welcome in Christian Roa and Bryce Blaum from Texas A&M to the 2018 roster. We've got Talking Baseball coming up tonight at Tom Sawyer's. We'll be getting into all this and more from 5 to 7. And our Winter Baseball Barbecue will be here before you know it. 2 weeks from Thursday, we'll be at the American Lacrosse on the north side to talk plenty of Loggers Baseball, Lacrosse Baseball Hall of Fame, and much more. So for now, we'll say goodbye. For Coach Lewis, my name is Chris Callaway. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of Loggers Live. And don't forget, roll logs.